Good morning everyone. Hope everyone is keeping well. So today's lecture is on behavior management part 1. So what is behavior management? Behavior management includes the modification of behavior, the management techniques of behavior along with the better communication skills of the dental team. So in this topic or in this lecture we will be discussing about the emotions, which includes the cry, fear and anxiety, along with behavior rating scale and the factors that influence a child's behavior in the dental clinic. So the intended learning outcomes: at the end of the lecture you will be able to discuss about the fear, anxiety and cry, discuss about the various behaviors of the children in the dental setup and list down the factors influencing it, define behavior management and discuss in details about the behavior management techniques in children, and apply the various behavior management techniques in child management. So the first two parts, that is behavior management 1 and 2, is based on the non-pharmacological behavior management techniques. So moving on to the lecture, that is, what is an emotion? It is a state of medical excitement characterized by physiological, behavioral changes and alteration of feelings. So emotion can be manifested as cry, as fear or as an anxiety. So cry is the primary emotion that is present at the time of birth itself. Elsbach in the year 1963 has described the cry into 4 different types, which helps in diagnosing the behavior of a child. So it can be an obstinate cry, a frightened cry, a hurt cry, or a compensatory cry. So an obstinate cry is a loud pitched cry with temper tantrums to stop the dental treatment. This is in response to the anxiety of the dental clinic or the dental treatment that the child gets. So a frightened cry is accompanied by torrents of tears and breath-catching sobs, while a hurt cry is the one in which a small whimper and a single tear filling from the corner of the eye is seen. And a compensatory cry is, as the name itself suggests, that the child tries to compensate, or it's a coping mechanism of the child, that coping mechanism of the unpleasant auditory stimuli, which is made the drill that makes the noise. The child tries to cope up with the noise of the drilling machine, and so he tries to make sound which acts like a compensatory cry. So now moving on to the fear. Fear is an emotional response to a consciously recognized and usually external threat of a danger, which is a known danger. It is a primitive response developed to protect the individual from harm and self-destruction. So this fear as a response is developed because it's an individual response to protect itself from harm and self-destruction. So the value of fear can produce harm and also protective mechanism. There are 2 types of fear that we have learned, or that we will be learning, is subjective and objective fear. So subjective fear is based, or which is these are feelings and attitudes described to the child by others, though the child does not experience itself personally. So these fears are imitative of our adults or our siblings, or suggestive or imaginative type of fear, which is acquired by the child from the parents or the siblings, while the objective type of fear is the one which is produced by direct physical stimulation of the sense organs, which is like if the child has seen something or felt or smelled or connected. so which are disagreeable and unpleasant in nature. And this is not of parental origin. Fears from the previous unpleasant dental experiences, or fears of uniform wear worn by a dental team or a doctor, is an objective type of fear, or because of the direct stimulation of the sense organs, and this is due to the past experiences. Moving on to the features of fear. So the features of fear are freeze, startle, the child may scream or run away. So the symptoms of intense fear is unpleasant feeling of terror, urge to cry or hide behind, pounding of the heart, dryness of the mouth and throat, urge to urinate, and irritability. So these are few of the symptoms of intense fear that we may see in a child coming to the dental clinic or to a dentist or to a doctor. So moving on to the fear and development. Age is a potent delineator of what produces fear in a child. So age of a child tells us the reason why the child has developed fear, or with time the fear has been reduced. So for a young child, the fear is mostly of fear of falling or sudden movements. Any quick and jerky movements of the hand again can produce fear for the child. Bright light, especially shining on the child's eye, again might cause fear. And the correct time to introduce the child to a dentist is between 2 to 3 years of age. So for preschool, fear of being separated from the parent is a type of fear which is developed in children of preschool. Then feeling of being abandoned or being left alone by the parent. Unfamiliar people wearing gowns will arouse fear in the child again. Then it's preferable to have a parent accompany the child into the operating room. So this will again reduce the amount of fear in the child, and hence will make the child more or involve the child in the dental treatment. At 4 years of age, there is gradual decline in the earlier fears which we have already discussed. So this decrease may be due to realization that there is nothing to fear of, social pressure to conceal fear. So this social fear is from the friends or from siblings or from the parents, and social imitation, where the child tries to imitate and show that he is not fearful of the dental scenario or dental situation at that moment. So for a 4 to 6 years of age, so during this period, fantasy plays an important role in the child. So child will try to do pleasures, will do pleasure in fantasy which they dislike doing in reality. So they will try doing all the things in fantasy. Maybe they might play as a doctor, but then they will be fearful of a doctor coming in person. Use imaginative play to help children overcome the fear. So at the age of 7, resolves fear of dental procedures, because the dentist can reason, explain, and he or she can contribute to the treatment. And at the age of 8 to 14, the child has learned to tolerate unpleasant situations. So the fear which was there in a preschooler with age reduces, and there has been some amount of development of what the child was fearing of. With age, the child has become better and the fear has been reduced. So moving on to anxiety. Anxiety is a primary emotion that is acquired soon after birth. So anticipation of danger, the source of which is largely unknown. So fear in which the child knew about it, or it's a known type of danger, while anxiety, it's an unknown type. So Anxiety types are either the state anxiety trait, free floating situational anxiety, or general anxiety. So modified anxiety, dental anxiety scales, this can tell you once you are given the form, you need to mark all the questions, and depending upon the score that you get, you are then scored. If you are getting 1 as a score, then you're not anxious. If the child is getting score of 2, then it is the child is slightly anxious. If the child scores 3, 4 and 5 respectively, then if 5 is extremely anxious. Then assessing anxiety using the Wenham picture scale. So in this we have a picture of a child in different categories, and from a low level of anxiety to a high level of anxiety. So this again measures the different levels of different anxiety. This measures the scale, if the child is highly anxious or less anxious. So measures the dental state anxiety. It's easy to administer and score. Consists of 8 cards. So it consists of 8. I will be showing you the picture in the next slide. So it consists of 8 cards with pictures of children in various dental situations. So the child is asked how they feel about visiting the dentist, and the child has to point out to the picture he likes the most. So according to that, so a score is recorded for each card whenever it's a high fear is selected. So total score of 8. So higher the score, greater is the fear. The same which I have discussed, 8 picture cards has been given. So every time the child comes, we need to ask how does he feel according to the picture, how he scores. We score, and then we score him either less anxious or highly anxious, or the anxiety level we check. So moving on to the clinical applications of it. While evaluating and treating a child's dental fear, so the dentist must understand the various factors that are related to the dental fear at various or the different ages. So the family plays an important function in reducing the fear or coping of the child to this situation or to the dental treatment. So they are the ones, or the parents are the ones who form or who give positive or consistent nurturing or interaction with the child. So we have to interact, or the dentist has to interact with the parent to build a bond with the parent, so that bond will help in an interaction you to connect with the patient easier, and hence the ability to cope with the dental treatment of the child. So thus the information on the importance of the indirect experiences of the development of the dental fear along with the positive approach should be first provided to the families and in the first dental visit. So the parents will know how to deal with the situations. Accordingly, they will be communicating or nurturing or giving positive information to the child, and hence reducing the child's fear of the dental clinic. So moving on to the fundamentals of behavior management. So the behavior management concept was given by Wright in the year 1975, in which behavior management is the means by which the dental healthcare team, the team is the dentist along with the hygienist, the receptionist, effectively and efficiently performs dental treatment for a child, at the same time instills a positive dental attitude. So the dental team not only does the treatment or performs the treatment, but also provides a positive attitude to the child. So we will be talking about the periodontic treatment triangle, in which the child is at the apex of the triangle and the family and the dentist are at the base of the triangle, and in the center we have the society. So to have a good treatment or to continue with the good treatment, it is very essential to have a good interaction between the dentist and the child, and the dentist and the family members. So together, the communication between the child, the family and the dentist will provide a good health care for the child and reduce his fear of the dental clinic and the dental team. Moving on to the behavior. So behavior is an observable act or any change in the functioning of an organism. So in behavior, we will be discussing about the various behavior rating scales. So we will be discussing about the Frankel's behavior rating scale, the Wright's classification of cooperativeness of the child in the dental clinic, and Lamshire's classification of behavior. But in this lecture, we will only be discussing about the Frankel's behavior rating scale and Wright's classification. So in the Frankel behavior rating scale, we have 4 types, that is rating 1, 2, 3 and 4. Rating 1 is definitely negative, as you can see the 2 negative signs. So definitely negative is the 2 negative signs, which is refusal to treatment. The child refuses treatment and cries forcefully. Fearfulness is there, and there is extreme negativism from the child. While behavior rating 2, that is negative, the child is reluctant of acceptance of treatment, the child is uncooperative, some evidence of negative attitude, that is sullen and withdrawn. While the behavior rating scale 3 or positive, as you can see only 1 plus sign, is acceptance of treatment, cautious behavior at times, willingness to comply with the dentist, and at times with reservation, but follows the dentist's instructions cooperatively. So in this, what happens, the child is very cautious of what is happening around him, but he will try to comply with the dentist, he will listen to the dentist, he will try to follow the dentist instructions. While rating 4, that is definitely positive, in which the child will have a good rapport with the dentist, shows interest in the dental procedures. The child will be laughing and enjoying the situation. So behavior rating, Frankel behavior rating scale is the most commonly or the most widely used reliable tool for rating the behavior of the child in the dental clinic. So you should remember that there are 4 different types of Frankel's behavior rating scale. Definitely negative we start with, then negative, positive and definitely positive. So in the definitely negative, the child refuses treatment and is crying forcefully. Negative, in which the child accepts treatment but is withdrawn and sullen. In positive, the child is cautious about the treatment, what is going around him, and tries to cooperate with the dentist. While definitely positive, in which the child maintains a good rapport with the dentist and is interested to know all the procedures that are being done on him and will be enjoying the treatment. So here we have an example. So what we see as a red mark indicates it's a pre-operative procedures or behavior, what we see pre-operative behavior, while the green marked is the post-operative behavior. So if the child comes for the first visit for initial examination and he is Frankel's behavior, he is having a Frankel behavior rating negative, then he will post-operatively he will shift to, or he might shift to positive in the tell show do procedure. If we do tell show do procedures initial examination, then he might there might be a change in the post operative behavior rating scale. In the preventive dental procedures, if we do any preventive dental procedures and the pre-operative behavior rating scale is positive, the child will become definitely positive with fluoride application, because again here we are not doing any invasive procedures. The child will be cooperative, and once he gets to know that there is no harm to him, he will try and he will cooperate with your treatment. But if the same patient comes for a restoration and it's a deep caries management and he is having pain, so pre-operative, if the child is positive, due to the pain, and the child may become negative, post-operative Frankel behavior rating negative, because this is due to the pain. So moving on to the Wright's classification, which was given in the year 1975, in which it is based on cooperative children, children lacking cooperative ability, and the third is potentially cooperative children. So cooperative children are the ones who are, we find them in our day-to-day practice. These are the children who are come in a day-to-day practice, and they show minimal apprehension and are relaxed type of children. So they have a good rapport with the dentist, and they are interested in the dental procedures, and laughing, and they laugh and enjoy the treatment procedures. And this, the dentist can work effectively and efficiently with these children, because they are the ones who follow the guidelines which are established or which are told to them, and they present a reasonable level of cooperation. While lacking cooperative ability are the ones who are total contrast of the cooperative children, and they lack the ability to cooperate during the dental procedures because of their mental or physical immaturity. So either it is mental or physical immaturity, or some special conditions. So mental or physical immaturity, if the child is less than 2.5 years of age, these children can pose major behavior problems. So they are called as the pre-cooperative periods. And the second group which you have discussed was a special condition group, which children with specific debilitating or handicapping conditions with mental or physical deficiencies. So these conditions will not allow them to cooperate. So because of the handicapping situation will not allow them to cooperate like normal children of the same age. So these children are called as special children. Next we have the potentially cooperative behavior. So potentially cooperative behavior is otherwise termed as the behavior problems, that is children with behavior problems, and they differ from children lacking cooperative ability because they have the ability to cooperate but they do not. So these children are the ones who have the ability to cooperate but they do not cooperate. This is because of the subjective or objective fear, which we have already discussed. So the different types of fear, it's because of that they do not cooperate. So but these children, that is the potentially cooperative children, can be modified into a cooperative child by using the various behavior management techniques. So under the potentially cooperative behavior, we have the uncontrolled behavior, defiant behavior, timid behavior, tense behavior, or whining behavior. So moving on to the uncontrolled behavior, which comes under the potentially cooperative children, that is this type of behavior which is seen between the age group of 3 to 6 years of age. The reaction what we see in this uncontrolled behavior is these children show temper tantrums before the child enters into the dental clinic. So this temper tantrum is what they show at home. This is what they are also doing in the dental clinic. This behavior is also known as incorrigible, so which is characterized by tears, loud crying, physical lashing out, which is common in school children, not common in older children. And if this behavior is seen in older children, that means it is deep rooted. Attempts to understand the reason may reveal adjustment problems. So how do we manage uncontrolled behavior? So the immediate measure would be to manage when is the removal of the children. These type of uncontrolled behavior type of children should be removed from the reception area as soon as possible before the chain of crying starts, because there will be other children also in the reception area. So one child starts crying, that will follow on to the next, and so on. So such type of child should be removed away from the reception area. Next, the child's flailing should be stabilized to avoid any physical injury. Since the child is already showing temper tantrums, and so this the child has to we need to see that the flailing has to be stabilized, otherwise there might be physical injury to the child and to the dental team also. And finally, we need to communicate with the child to establish to explain about the procedure. So most children who understand or comprehend the situation, they will control their behavior and change their behavior from an uncontrolled to a better. So now moving on to the defined behavior. Defined behavior, this behavior is typical of elementary school years. So these children are often referred to as stubborn or spoiled type of children, and they become highly cooperative after establishment of guidelines for their behaviors and gaining their confidence. They refuse to respond verbally, avoids any eye contact with the dentist, clenching teeth during the intraoral examination when the dentist is trying to examine, but they become cooperative after establishing a guideline of their behavior and gaining their confidence. So how do we management, or the immediate measures would be use of firmness and avoid struggling with the patient. The conversation is very important between the dentist and the patient. The consequences of neglecting the dental problems need to be explained to the patient, and once their negative attitudes are modified, then you can do the behavior management techniques to overcome their negative attitude. Next is the timid type of behavior. Timid behavior in which the child may hide or may shield behind the parent, but no physical resistance to separation procedure. The child may sob or whimper but is actually not crying hysterically. The child may withhold the tears, will be highly anxious of the dental clinic. The reason of the timidity in these type of children is because of if the parents are overprotective, or and if managed incorrectly, the behavior that they are already timid can deteriorate. So these children need to gain self-confidence and confidence in the dentist. So they must be carefully led and handled through the dental situations, otherwise if they are not managed correctly, their behavior can deteriorate. Next, we have the tense cooperative type of behavior. These children are termed as borderline behavior. They have the tension in their is often revealed in the body language, and tremors while speaking. You can see when they speak, there's perspiration on the palms and the brows. They accept the treatment what is provided to them, but they are extremely tense of the situation. Unobservant dentist might fail to see this type of problems what the child is facing, that is tremors and perspiration of the palms and brows. Next we have the whining type of behavior. The whining can be seen in timid or tense cooperative children. They allow the dentist to proceed but whine through the entire procedure. So whining is basically, it's like a compensatory mechanism of the treatment that is being done to avoid the treatment. They frequently complain of pain. The cry is controlled, constant and not loud, and there are seldom tears that you may find in these type of children. And the continuous reaction actually can cause a source of can be a source of frustration or irritation to the dentist, because of the constant cry or the which they keep, or the whining they keep doing. Greater patience is required by the dentist for dealing with such type of children. So to distract the child from the dental situations, the child can be distracted using headphones or with soothing music, or visual clips can be shown to him. Even good soundproofing needs to be done of the dental operatory, as it helps to extend along with some visual clips can distract the child from the treatment time that has been taken. So this again reduces, this is type of this will reduce the fear of the fear which the child is having for the dental treatment. Children's attitude towards dentistry, their likes and dislikes. They like interesting waiting room, if it is which include comics and stationery books, magazine. Dentist to talk while working. They like the dentist to talk while working, and they generally like being called by the first name or even the nickname. They would prefer being called by nicknames also. Explanation of the dental procedure. So any type of treatment that a dentist does needs to be explained to the child. They like to watch in the mirror as a dentist work. They like to see what is being done to the teeth, and to be told that he or she has been a good patient. So at the end of the treatment, they love being appreciated by the dentist. So if you appreciate them or reward them because of the good behavior, they will be the best type of the best patients in future. So they will come back to you in your next appointment. Children do not like being kept waiting in the waiting room, do not like waiting for the dental treatment. So waiting increases the anxiety. So once the anxiety increases and they see the other children upset or stressed or crying, they again become they will not be willing for the treatment, or they become fearful. They do not like drilling, that is any cavity preparation or any type of drilling they do not like. Children dislike untruthfulness about a painful procedure. So if a procedure involves that the child might have pain, you need to be truthful to the patient and tell him that it might slightly pain, but never say that it's not going to pain, because children do not like untrue. They like to be, you need to be truthful to your patient. children do not dislike being scolded by the dentist, and children do not like being compared to other children. So never compare a patient with another patient, saying that the other patient which you have treated was much better than you, because they do not like. So once they do not like, they will avoid coming back to you for their treatment, further treatment. So you should avoid comparing children, the two children for their treatment. So now we move on to the factors that influence a child behavior in the dental clinic. So there are various factors under which you have factors that is under the control of the dentist, factors under the control of the parents, that is especially the mothers, and other factors that influence the behavior. So the factors that are under the control of the dentist is, we have the dental office environment, the dentist activity, attitude and attire, the scheduling of the appointments, presence or absence of the parent or siblings in the operatory, and substantial reinforcement. So the dental environment, creating an atmosphere in which a child feels comfortable and safe. So the part of the waiting area to create a play zone. So you have to have a waiting area with a play zone, with posters and pictures should be there of the correct height for the children to appreciate. It should not be very high so that they can't even notice it. It should be warm, and it should stimulate a homely environment rather than a clinic or dental operated type. And the dental auxiliaries should be polite, and a separate exit and entry should be available, and the operating environment should be made colorful and lively. As we have already discussed, the waiting room should contain a TV and a video games or toys, storybooks and comics for them to wait, and till the time they are waiting, they can at least enjoy the moment instead of sitting and being more anxious of the treatment. So once they are playing in the play area or separated in the recreational or play area, this will encourage them to leave the parents aside and will facilitate the separation of the child from the parents, and this will help in transfer of the child being transferred into the dental operatory, so that you are already creating a separation of the child from the parent, so they will not be very scared when they are in the dental operatory. Good installation of the operatory is essential as soundproof. So you should have a background music which may also play an important role. Pleasant odor should also be there. If the dental operatory smells of the chemicals, then this can increase the fear of the dental operatory. All the instruments should be kept in the out of sight of the child, and a tray should be prepared before the child enters into the dental operatory, so that less amount of time is wasted in getting all the instruments. And the instrument should always be placed behind the patient, not in front of the patient. So the dental office, as we have already discussed how it should be, it should relieve the anxiety of the child and not make the child more fearful of the environment. A separate recreational area to separate the child and the parent, so that they are at least separated, and it will facilitate the separation when the child is transferred to the dental operatory. Good insulation has to be maintained. Bright colors of the dental clinics preferred is pastel shades, then pastel shades, because children do not like pastel shades. Then dentist's activity and attitudes and attire. The dentist should avoid any sudden jerky movements and should be affluent in his words and action. If the child affluent, the dentist should wear a less formal attire, because if a child has a previous experience of a stressful situation because of someone wearing a white attire and a formal dress, then this will again provoke the fear in the child. So less formal attire will be more beneficial in some children. Next we have the scheduling of the appointments. So appointments during the child appointments should be avoided. Child's hours, that is when the child is playing, the play time of the child, or when the feeding time of the child, or sleeping on the nap time of the child, it should be avoided during scheduling of the appointments. So early appointments are preferable. Appointments should be of short duration, that is less than 30 minutes, because the child's attention span is very short, and so we have to finish the treatment as soon as possible. Children should not be kept waiting for a long time in the waiting room, because this again leads to making them more stressful, anxious and stressful, and hence restless. Long appointments should be avoided, because this will deteriorate their behavior at the end of the treatment. So the short appointments, that is less than 30 minutes, is preferable. The presence or absence of a parent or sibling in the operatory is a questionable remark, as there not many dentists would prefer parents to be in the operatory, but some dentists would prefer being getting the parents or involving the parents in the dental operatory when they are doing the treatment. So there are pros and cons for the presence of parent in the operatory. So if the parents are present in the operatory, they will disturb or create an annoyance for both for the dentist. They will try to interrupt the dentist in their treatment. Certain behavior modification techniques cannot be used in the presence of the parent, but the parents presence in the operatory also is helpful, because if there is a change in plan of the treatment, you do not have to waste time and go and ask in the reception area from the parents and explain them about the treatment change. You can take the consent itself over there itself in the dental operatory. The presence of older sibling also serves as a role model, because if the younger sibling is the one who needs to get the treatment done, the older sibling can serve as a role model, in which the younger one will be observing the elder sibling, and this will change or modify some amount of behavior in the younger sibling. The patient's anxiety and behavior can be improved. The parents, if they are present in the operatory, it also causes some amount of annoyance for both the child patient and the dentist, because they keep repeating the same words, and that annoys the dentist, and the child has to hear from two people the same instruction. So this will confuse the child. As I have already mentioned, that some form of behavior management you cannot use in front of parents, because they will not approve of the behavior management. Next we move on to the substantial reinforcement. Reward after successful treatment helps in reinforcement of the positive attitude. So once the treatment is done and the child has been good and has completed his work or got his treatment done for that appointment, then a reward helps in successful treatment or reinforcing the child for coming for the next appointment. So reward is in recognition to a good behavior after completion of an operation, but it should not be used as a bribe. So bribe should not, if you are giving or if you are telling the patient that if you get the treatment done and you will get a prize or you get award for it, then that is bribing. Never bribe a child. You should reward a child and not bribe a child. So moving now, the factors under the control of the parent. So we have discussed about the factors under the control of the dentist. Now under the control of the parents. So under the control of the parents, we have the home environment, the family and the peer influences, the maternal anxiety and the parental attitudes. So moving on to the home environment, behavior of a child is influenced by the mother. So a child learn good values if cared. The home environment is the first. Home is the first place where the child learns to behave. So, child learn good values and positive attitudes if they are cared and talked, and they will not behave properly if they are not cared at home or they do not follow the rules. The family and peer influences. If the parents are overprotective, this leads to a spoiled child. Internal family conflicts again affects the child's behavior. Maternal behavior and anxiety, that is, if my mother's attitudes and behavior, this we will be discussing in details in the next few slides. That is, maternal behavior and anxiety. Mother's attitude and behavior affects a child's behavior and parental attitudes. So coming to the effects of maternal attitude and the anxiety, if the mother is overprotective of the child will be submissive, shy and anxious. The child will be aggressive, demanding, show or display temper tantrums. If the mother is overindulgent in the child will be aggressive, spoiled, demanding, display of temper tantrum. If the mother is under affectionate, the child will be well behaved, unwell to cooperate, shy, cries easily. If the mother is has a rejecting behavior, the child will be aggressive, overactive, disobedient. And if the mother is authoritarian, the child will be evasive and dawdling. So the other factors influencing behavior is growth and development, nutritional factors, socioeconomic factors, awareness of the dental programs, past medical and dental history, and school environment. So growth and development, in this, if there's deficiency of any growth and development, like any congenital development or any syndromes which leads to rejection or excessive sympathy or empathy by the society, along with the lot of concern from the parents, this will lead to too much of expectation of the dentist because of the level of physical or motor development. So next we move on to the nutritional factors in which if there's any nutritional deficiency which may lead to physical and cognitive development, and children who come for dental treatments skipping the meals or they are hungry during the appointment may not perform well during the appointment because up to the expectations, up to our expectation or the dentist expectation. Socioeconomic status plays an important role. If a child is coming from a high socioeconomic status, that means he is getting all the necessary things for the normal physical and psychological development, but sometimes these children may be spoiled children. But if a child is coming from a low socioeconomic status, may develop resentment or tensed, and the child may gets neglected, and this may affect his attitudes towards the dental health. Awareness of the dental treatment, dental problem. A child may show negative behavior during the first dental visit, but a child may be shy, shyness to show the teeth to the dentist, which may result in avoidance of opening the mouth initially. Any past medical or dental history, we should ask the patient. The factors also that influence the behavior is past medical or dental history. Children with negative medical or dental experiences are more likely to be uncooperative dental procedures, but any past dental history which was painful and fearful procedures have been done, which has evoked a negative response, this will this will produce fear in the child in the next appointments. So this type of behavior has to be modified by using the different behavior management or behavior shaping techniques. So the school environment also plays an important role, as these children get influenced by the peers and seniors in terms of their attitude towards life and the dentistry and the oral health status. Now moving on to the fundamentals of behavior guidance. So the fundamentals being the positive approach, the attitudes. Positive approach is the attitudes and expectation of the dentist that affects the appointment outcome. The positive statements increases the chances of success. Next we have the team attitude. A pleasant smile by the dentist, by the receptionist, by the dental hygienist plays an important role. A child responds best to friendly and natural attitude. Children, the casual greetings, use of nicknames, noting child's school accomplishments make the child feel more comfortable. Moving on to the organization, any contingency plans for every dental, it should be well organized. Written treatment plans has to be mentioned. Delay and indecisiveness in this can in the treatment plan can lead to apprehension in young patients. Truthfulness, as we have already discussed, you have to be truthful to the child. So the dental team should be truthful to build a trust in the young child, so that the relationship between the child and the patient builds up. Being truthful is the fundamental rule in treating children. Next we have tolerance. So dentist's ability to rationally cope with misbehaviors while maintaining the composure. So you have to cope with the misbehaviors or the behaviors that a child is doing while maintaining the composure. So the dentist should not get irritated and frustrated at the child's behavior. We need to have a self-control. Next is flexibility. So dental team should be prepared to change its plan. That means we have to follow 2 or 4 handed dentistry, 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock position. Treatment of small children may demand change in position. So in case child is fatigued, treatment is shortened. Flexibility even in the appointment, if there is sudden change in plans, you need to cope up with it. The dentist has to abide by it, because if the child is already tired or fatigued, you cannot continue with the treatment. You have to stop the treatment at that time. Then you have to follow a 2 or a 4 handed dentistry for a fast and effective treatment. And the position of the dentist again may change from 11 or 12 o'clock position depending upon the child, what position they demand in. Thank you. In this lecture we have discussed, but in the upcoming lecture we will be discussing about the various behavior management techniques. So please go through the lecture and go through the books also, because this is a very important topic that we sometimes confuse ourselves. So if you have any questions, please come back to me, or we will be creating a Google Classroom for this and we can discuss about it. Thank you.